Hi everyone, here with another set of 10 tips for Google Sheets for beginners. So let's get started and move on so we become intermediate users quickly. Tip number 11, how to work with the tabs. Let's say you have a file here and I have, two tabs right now, and you can click and you will move to another tab. So your sheets can have many tabs. And if you want to add another tab, you can just click the plus button right there and then you can add a tab and you can add multiple. You can also drag the tabs where you want. So I can move it around, change the order of my tabs. And if you click this menu, it will show you what tabs you have. Now you can also change the names of them. If I click that arrow and click on it, I can either delete the tab, I can duplicate, so I can make a copy. Let's say my expenses, I'm going to make a copy and it says copy of these expenses. And I can rename it here. I can click it and say expenses 2. Like this. And then I can also add color, so I can quickly tell what's going on with my worksheet. Maybe there's section in the worksheet that are like talking about expenses, so I'm going to change the color here. You can also select 1 or 2, and if you click the shift you can select multiple, and I'm going to click on change color, and all of these I'm going to change yellow, so I can quickly move it, change the color for multiple. And now if I click the menu, I can check what tabs I have, because in our case we have few tabs, but you can have tabs going much farther, and sometimes it's hard to tell what's going on, especially if they have long names. And you can also hide the sheets. So let's say I have this sheet and I'm going to call it hide, and I'm going to click on this and hide so you can't see it. And how do you get back to it? If you are in a worksheet, you can't tell it's hidden. You can click on the menu, and now you see that hidden sheet, it's kind of like grayed out. If I click on it, it's on hiding the sheet. You can also move it right and left this way, but I prefer actually just dragging it versus like moving it one by one. So you can move multiple places this way. You can also delete multiple at a time. If I click one tab, click shift and select all, right click or click on the arrow, click delete, it will just prompt you to say, hey, there are 3 sheets you're trying to delete. Make sure that you selected 3, not 1, and then you can say, yes, I'm okay with that. Tip number 12 has to do with removing grid lines. So sometimes when you format your data and you notice when you pull out of templates, they like look very nice, and sometimes the trick is actually to remove these grid lines because just so much going on, the grid lines everywhere. And the quick way to do it, if you go to view and show, you have grid lines, and if I just uncheck it, now all the grid lines are gone. If you want to bring them back, you just go back to grid lines, view, show, grid lines. Tip number 13 is how to remove decimal places or make it consistent. So I have these percentages here that are calculated, and I don't need to see that this amount of the shelter cost, it's 58% of the total housing cost. I just 58% of 59 roundup would be enough. So if I select this cell, and if you go to the top and you have these 2 options, decrease decimal places, so this is decreases the amount of decimal places you see, or increases if you want to see more. So I'm going to decrease it. You can also do it all at the same time. I can click shift, select the cells, and I can just, by clicking, it will fix where it should start, and then I can click this way to just see the whole number without the decimal places. Tip number 14, how to paste your formatting styles. And I just love this one. I use it all the time. So let's say I have this format for currency right here, and I prefer this one to the ones that the dollar sign is right by the number, because I can see the number, it's much clearer to me. So if I like this format, I can try to reformat all of these. Maybe they're in different cells and so on. But the quick way to do it, if you just select it and you click on this paint format, it's kind of like a painter roller. If you click on that, that's selected. As you see, it's in green, and then now I can select some other places where I want to paste the format. So this is a quick way to do it. Let's say I'm going to maybe make this bold, Command B, and I like this, and maybe increase in size, like size 12, and I like this format. I'm like, oh, I want to paste it in different places, so I can just click the paint format and make it, the same across maybe here. Tip number 15, how to wrap or clip your text. So let's say I have this, this information right here. Let me actually increase it in size so you can see it better. And now I can see that there's text cutoff, but I don't want to make it, so big. Like if I just double click to fit it, I don't need this huge cell, but I want to see the top of it as well. So I'm going to go back to resizing. I'm going to resize them the same way by selecting both. And now what you can do is just select the cells that you want to wrap it. So I'm going to select these three, and if you go to format and wrapping, now it's selected to overflow, but if I click wrap, it will basically make the text fit the cell. And here I can also adjust how it's aligned by just changing the alignment for the cells, vertical line, so it looks much better. Now another option is, I can still maybe change this so it just fits two cells like this. Now another option is also clipping things. So for example, what I don't like, let's say the text from this column is spilling over to here, and so I don't see where the subcategories start. So what I like to do is maybe I'll select this column, and for formatting, instead of wrapping, I'm going to say clip. So right now you see the text will not flow over the column B, it will be clipped. So it's easier for me to tell what's going on, that there's nothing right here, so I can see quickly the subcategories. That same happened with the, with the links. Right now they're like clipped. And if you want to change it back, you just select it and format, wrapping, and you want to check overflow. So now it goes back what it was before. Tip number 16, clear formatting. So maybe, especially, if you had links in some cells, what happens is that basically sometimes when you remove the data and you type, something else, like the formatting is still there, but I removed the text. So the way to clear the formatting, you can either maybe paste formatting from somewhere else by just using our painter roller like here, but then another quick way is basically selecting the cell and then going to format and clear formatting. The one thing you be aware, like, and you see I can select these cells and click format, clear formatting, so it goes back to original, is that sometimes if you have it will go back to the very basic formatting. So if you just want to remove, let's say, the link, but you use a different font, let's say I'm going to use Montserrat everywhere, I'm going to click Montserrat, and now I'm going to try to remove this format, it will go back to the very default formatting. So just be aware of that. So sometimes actually the paint format might be a better option. Tip number 17, how to format your dates. So you will work with dates all the time. So let's say I have these dates right here and I want all of them to be formatted the same way. You can select them by clicking one, then shift, selecting the last one. And now if you go to format and now you go to a number and select date. Now you can select the dates that are selected here for you, or you can go down to custom date and time. And I like this option better because then it will show you how this will look and you can select from more options. And I actually maybe like this, having my month, day, and year, and I'm going to say apply, so all of them will apply. Now the problem here is that it messed up my date here, so I'm just going to have to retype it, and in this case it went back to just the year because I don't have a month and day. But that's the way to basically clear your formatting to make it consistent. Tip number 18, how to format your text quickly. So let's say you have this text, and I usually don't like the default Arial font, so the quick way to instead of clicking this and trying to select your area where you want to change, the quick way to do it, if you click in the top left corner, it selects everything on the sheet, and now I can go quickly to the font and I can quickly use Montserrat, and that's the one that I prefer to use. You can also quickly use the size, but the size will apply to everything. So right now you see everything will be size 0.12. If you want a specific places to be larger, let's say I'm going to have the title to go with 18, and if you want it bold, you can click B. You can also use short commands, command B to, if you do it twice, then you're undoing it. If you want to also italicize, you will say command I, and one more time to undo it. You can also do maybe like select certain places, and now if I want to do a border to this area, the quick way to do it is command U. And how do I know? Because I've been using it a lot, but if you don't know, if you click on format, text, and here's an option of underline. So command U if you want to quickly do it. Now you can also do, like, let's say I was showing you before, if you want to change the way the dollar signs are showing up, you can, let me just select both of these columns. You can just select them and go to format, number, and I'm going to use the accounting. And once it's still selected, I can change the decimal places. Well, let's remove the decimal places right there. And you can just do the same thing with the percentages, format, number, and you can do percent. If the options are not available, you can just click on custom number format, and there's some other options here that you can apply. Some of them are really confusing, honestly. I don't know what this means, but just use the basic ones for now. Now, if you want to, create more easier way to see things, let's say I'm going to select this one, and if I click command, I can actually select multiple things. And now I'm going to maybe click bold, and if I can change text color. If you click here, I can select the text color. I also can click custom, and here I can specify what color I want. And once I do that, it actually will show up right there for me to reuse. I can also add maybe color to the cells. Oh, you see what happens here? This change, when I was changing the formatting for my currency, it changed my date format. So I actually have to go back, number, and now I want to say date again, change it back. So yeah, I have to be aware of that. Okay, let me just make this bold, and I want to show you how to maybe add some background color, fill color. So I like using fill colors that are very gentle, like subtle. Like if you make it too harsh, it just looks like it's 1990s worksheet. So that's my suggestion. And then let's go back to what we were talking about by removing the grid lines, and you can right away see that the worksheet is looking much better just with little formatting. Tip number 19, how to freeze panes for columns and rows. So lag the data. So let's say I'm going down and I'm like, okay, I don't remember what's in the top of my column. Or let's say the data is very large, I don't remember what's on the left. So the quick way to do it is if you select the row, let's say I want to this data not to move from the date and maybe from the description of the top column. Okay, let me see what happened here. This was messed up. If I selected Command X, I actually can move it. So I'm cutting it, moving to where I like. Anyway, so I'm going to select this, and then if you go to view and then freeze, you have option how you want to freeze it. If I select one row, it will just freeze the top row. So that's not what we want. So I want to select up to row 4. So now if I go to view, freeze, up to row 4, now you see I can scroll down and I see the title for my columns, but now the left, it still has the same issue. So I can do the same thing by selecting the column, let's say this one, and go to view, freeze, and column, and I'm going to say one column right there. So it's moving. But guess what? There's even a quicker way. So let me just undo this. If I select both of them, view, freeze, no rows, view, freeze, no columns, so I undid it. There's actually a quicker way to do that. If you just go to the top and you see that hand icon right now. I can actually drag this like so, and I made a freeze pane. And I can do the same thing. You see this right there. The line is much thicker and I can move it manually where I want. And I actually like this better because I don't have to count how many rows, how many columns I want. I can just manually move it. And you can manually remove it. Grab it and go off the page. Grab it and go off. So that's a quick way to freeze your panes. Tip number 20, how to merge cells. Now, I would just advise you to use it only for formatting. Don't merge cells with data, because what it happens is the data in the top left cell will be the only data in the merge cell. But for text formatting, it works great. So let's say I have this title and I want to merge it across maybe column B to E. So I'm going to actually move it first. I have to move it to the one column that I want it in because I don't want it in column B. So I'm going to move it here, and it's off right there. I don't like it. So I'm going to select these columns right there, and maybe I want to select it actually down one row. So it goes across the row 2, 1, and column B to E. And now if you go to, there's a merge icon right there, select merge type. You can click on that triangle and you can say merge all. That means you will merge the rows and the columns together. You can also merge just vertically. So vertically, if I did it, it's just merging the rows, but it's not merging the columns. So I'm going to undo that. If I'm going to select merge horizontally, it's just merging the columns, but it's not merging the rows. So I'm going to undo that too. So now I'm going to select merge all. So now you see it's merging the rows as well as the columns. And how do I can also maybe figure out a little bit of positioning here, alignment, and I can also add, remember we were using format, wrapping, wrap. So it's like this, but I can also want to fit this text from our another tip. I can just select this. It doesn't seem to work like this, but I can manually move it because it's merged cells. You see, when it's merged, it works a little bit differently. So you have to be aware of it. And I can also fill it with some color to make it look nicer. So thanks for watching. There's 10 more tips coming up.